My name is Anna, and this is the story of the day I understood my father. For many years, I did not understand him at all. When I was a child, he was like a tall, dark wall in our small house. He was there, but I could not see what was inside. He left for work very early every morning. I woke up and heard the door close and his heavy steps going down the stairs. When I came home from school, he was not there. When he finally came home at night, he was tired and quiet. He ate his food, watched the news, and then went to bed. He did not laugh much. He did not tell stories. Sometimes he asked, "How was school?" I said, "Fine," and that was all. My mother was the warm one. She smiled at me, hugged me, and listened to my long stories about friends and homework. When I was sad, I went to her. When I was happy, I went to her. My father was like a stranger living in the same house. He paid the bills. He fixed the broken things. He carried heavy bags from the store, but he did not carry my heart. At least that is how I felt then. Sometimes when I was in my room, I could hear my parents talking in the kitchen. Their voices were low. My mother sounded worried. His voice was deeper, slower. I did not understand their words, but I felt something heavy in the air. Money, work, problems, all those adult things. To me, he was just the strict one who told me to study, to clean my room, to come home on time. When I was 12, I started to feel angry at him. Other girls at school talked about their fathers. My dad took me to the park. My dad helped me with my math. My dad told me a funny story. I listened and smiled, but inside I thought, my father does none of that. He did not come to my school plays. He did not come to my sport days. He always had work. When I asked my mother why, she said, "He is busy. He is tired. Be patient." But I did not want to be patient. I wanted him to see me. I wanted him to be proud. One evening, when I was about 14, I came home very upset. At school, a teacher told me I was doing well and said, "You must have very proud parents." I smiled at the teacher, but later I felt angry again. I thought, my father does not even know my grades. That night, he was sitting at the table reading the newspaper. My mother was cooking. I stood in the doorway and looked at him for a long moment. He did not notice me. "Do you care about me at all?" I suddenly asked. My voice shook. He slowly lowered the paper and looked at me. "What do you mean?" he said. "You never come to school events. You never ask about my day. You never talk to me. You only tell me what to do. Do you even know me?" The words came out fast and loud. My mother turned from the stove, eyes wide. The room felt very still. My father looked surprised. His mouth opened a little, then closed again. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he stood up, but he did not come closer. He just looked at me with tired eyes. "I work hard for you," he said. "That is how I show I care." "It doesn't feel like care," I answered. "It feels like I don't matter." My mother said my name softly, trying to calm me, but I turned and went to my room. I shut the door and cried into my pillow. I felt angry, hurt, and alone. To me, he was just a man who lived in the same house, who paid for the food, but did not know my heart. After that night, we spoke even less. At breakfast, we said only small words. "Good morning. Pass the sugar. Have a good day." But there was a wall between us, even higher than before. Time passed. I finished school and went to a small college in the city, not far from home. I came back on weekends, but I did not stay in the living room much. I stayed in my room or went out with friends. My mother tried to make peace between us, but we both stayed in our own corners, quiet and stubborn. Then one winter, something happened that changed everything. It started with small things. My father began to cough a lot. He said it was just a cold. He said he was fine. He still went to work every day, but I saw his face getting thinner. His steps up the stairs were slower. At night, I could hear him coughing in his room for a long time. One morning, I was home for the weekend. I woke up and heard strange sounds downstairs. There were fast footsteps, a chair moving, my mother's worried voice. I ran down and saw my father sitting at the table, his face very pale. His hand was on his chest, his breath short. My mother was shaking as she held the phone. "I'm calling an ambulance," she said. Her voice was breaking. I stood frozen, watching him. He looked at me for a second, and in his eyes, I saw something I had never seen so clearly before. Fear. The ambulance came quickly. Men in uniforms took him away on a stretcher. My mother and I followed in a taxi. I sat in the back seat, my hands cold, my heart beating hard. I looked at my mother's face. She was biting her lip, holding her bag tight. At the hospital, we waited for a long time in white chairs. The walls were too bright. The floor was too clean. People walked past us with serious faces. I felt like a small child again, scared and helpless. My mother held my hand. "He has always pushed himself too hard," she whispered. "Always working, always worrying." I told him to rest. He never listened. "Why?" I asked. The word came out small. She looked at me, and there was a long, heavy pause. Then she said, "For you, for us, always for us." I looked down at my shoes. I wanted to say, "But he never showed it." But the words did not come. After some time, a doctor came and spoke to us. He said my father had a heart problem. He would need to stay in the hospital for tests and rest. If he changed his life, if he took care, he could get better. But he must be careful now. We were allowed to see him. When we entered his room, he was lying on the bed, connected to small machines. There were tubes and soft beeping sounds. He looked older, smaller, and suddenly very human. Not like the strong, silent wall I had known. My mother went to his side and took his hand. I stood near the door, not sure what to do. He saw me and gave a faint smile. "Come closer," he said. His voice was weak but gentle. I walked slowly to his bed. I did not know where to put my hands. I was afraid to touch him, afraid he might break. "There you are," he said. "My girl." I had not heard him say those words in many years. Something moved in my chest. "You scared us," I said softly. He tried to laugh, but it turned into a cough. "I scared myself," he said. Then he closed his eyes for a moment, like the light was too strong. The nurse came and said we should let him rest. We said goodbye and left the room. As we stepped out, my mother stopped me in the hallway. "Will you go home and bring some things for him?" she asked. "His blue sweater, his glasses, and his old bag. There is also a folder on his desk. Bring that too." I nodded and went home alone. The house felt different without him. It was quiet, but not in the usual way. It was the quiet of an empty place, not a resting place. I went to my parents' bedroom. I had never really looked around before. It felt like a private world that did not belong to me. But that day, I stepped in and saw it with new eyes. On his side of the room, there was a small desk. On it lay his glasses, some pens, a cup with coins, and a thick, worn folder. I picked up the sweater, then sat down in his chair and opened the folder. Inside, there were papers, many papers. Bills, payslips, letters from the bank, notes written in his small, careful handwriting. I began to look through them. There were hospital bills from when I was little. I saw my name at the top. I remembered a time I was very sick as a child, but I had never thought about the cost. There were letters from his work, talking about long hours and extra shifts. There were reminders of late rent from years ago. There were lists of expenses: food, school, clothes, books. Then I saw something else. A paper from my school from many years before. At the top was my name again, and my grades. At the bottom, in blue pen, someone had written, "Well done, Anna. She is a smart and hard-working student." On the side of the paper, in my father's handwriting, I saw small words: "I am proud." The letters were not very neat. They looked like he had written them quickly, maybe in the evening when everyone was asleep. I touched the words with my finger. My throat felt tight. There were more papers like this, copies of school reports, small notes from teachers, even a page from a local newspaper where my name was printed for winning a writing prize. Next to it, in his writing again, "Showed to everyone at work." I sat there for a long time with the papers in my hands. Piece by piece, a new picture of my father appeared in my mind. He was not just a quiet man in a chair. He was a man who woke up early and worked long hours, so I could have books, a school, and a safe home. He was a man who kept every report from my school, every little success, but did not know how to say the words out loud. He was a man who had pride in me, but carried it in secret, in a folder on his desk. I felt my eyes fill with tears. I put the papers back carefully, as if they were something holy. Then I took the sweater, the glasses, and the folder, and went back to the hospital. When I entered his room again, he was awake, looking out the window. The light was soft on his face. He turned his head as the door opened. "You came back," he said. "Yes," I answered. "I brought your things." I put the bag on the small table, and then, after a moment, I took a breath and added, "I also saw the folder." His eyes moved to the folder, then back to me. For a second, he looked almost embarrassed. "Ah," he said quietly, "that old thing." I came closer to the bed. My heart was beating fast, but this time for a different reason. "You kept all my school papers," I said. "You kept everything." He did not look at me right away. Instead, he looked at his hands. "I'm not very good with words," he said at last. "You know that. I don't always know what to say. But I was proud. I am proud. I just kept it there." He nodded toward the folder. I sat down in the chair next to his bed. For the first time in my life, I took his hand. His hand was warm and a little rough. I held it tightly. "I thought you didn't care," I said. "I thought you didn't see me." He shook his head, slowly, carefully. "I saw everything," he said. "I saw how you studied, how you helped your mother, how you grew. I saw it all. I just didn't know how to say it. My father never said those things to me. I did not learn how." It was a simple sentence, but inside it, I could hear his whole life. A boy who had grown up without soft words. A man who only knew how to show love through work, through long hours, through quiet sacrifice. I felt something inside me melt and break at the same time. The wall I had built in my heart began to fall. "I was angry with you," I admitted, "for a long time." "I know," he said. "I felt it. I didn't know how to reach you. I am sorry." His eyes were wet now. My own tears were already running down my face. "I am sorry too," I said. "I did not understand. I did not try to see your side. I just saw your silence and thought it was empty. But it wasn't empty. It was full. I just never looked inside." We sat like that for a while. The machines beeped softly. Voices moved in the hallway outside, but inside the room, time seemed to slow down. For the first time, we were not just father and daughter in the same house. We were two people, seeing each other with open eyes. That day did not fix everything at once. We did not suddenly become talkative and easy. He was still a quiet man. I was still sometimes shy with him. But something important had changed. He stayed in the hospital for several more days. I visited him every afternoon after my classes. Sometimes we talked. Sometimes we just sat in silence, watching the light move on the wall. But the silence was different now. It was not cold. It was gentle and safe. When he finally came home, he had to change his life. He worked fewer hours. He walked more slowly. He sat in the living room more often. One evening, I came home from college with a good test result. I held the paper in my hand and stood in front of him. "I got a very good grade," I said. My voice shook a little. He took the paper and put on his glasses. He read it slowly, then looked up at me. "Well done," he said. His voice was soft but clear. "I am proud of you." The words were simple, but they were like warm light in a dark room. I smiled, and this time the smile reached all the way inside. Now, when I think about my father, I do not just see the quiet man at the table, the man who did not come to school plays, the man who forgot to say warm words. I see the man who kept every paper with my name on it, the man who took extra shifts so I could have shoes and books, the man who did not know the language of feelings, but loved deeply in the language of action. The day I understood my father was not one single moment. It was many moments together. The hospital room, the old folder, the papers with my name, his quiet, "I am proud." All those small lights came together and showed me his heart. Sometimes love is loud and easy to see. Sometimes it is quiet and hidden in old drawers and tired hands. For many years, I only saw what he did not give me. Now I also see what he did. My name is Anna, and this was the day I understood my father.